Okay, 2.4 has or is pretty much focusing on problems of variables on both sides. The self-check that you should be looking at here, you should be answering yes to all these. Do you understand how to do one-step equations with work? I hope so, because you had to do a lot of that. How to do two-step equations with work. And do you have a decent grasp on incorporating like terms and a distributive property? If that is the case, then today is technically your last lesson in solving, because everything else just gives you a process that pretty much leads to a fundamental solving problem. Be sure to work hard today and you'll be in great shape for the chapter test. If you're still having issues solving, then you're in for a long chapter. Make sure you start asking for help, because you'll need to definitely get that. So where does this fit in with everything you've already learned? The material we learned today fits just below our last lesson's rule of simplify first. Once both sides are simplified, you then check to see if variables are on both sides. So you still simplify first, but the thing you want to do is check to see if this is going on, because if that's the case, there is something else to do. In order to solve an equation with a variable in order to solve an equation, a variable, or with a variable, the variable must clearly declare one side. So when you consider this problem, and you consider that x wants to be alone, if this x moves the 3 over here, it just moves in with that x. If this x moves the 6 over here, it's simply moving in with that x. So there is a issue whenever both sides have a variable. So what we want to do is fix that issue by moving the smaller variable to the other side. Now you don't have to move the smaller variable, you can move either one, but it tends to work out better when you choose a smaller variable. And you move that variable by using its opposite. Some quick examples before we get ready to move are here. 3x plus 17 equals 5x plus 9. Let me focus this thing here, if possible. 3x plus 17 equals 5x plus 9. So again, everything is simplified. And that is the first thing you want to see, because you have x in a number equals x in a number. You got to get down to that part. Once we get there, we again are going to move the smaller x, which is 3x, by using its opposite and subtracting 3x from both sides. You want to copy this because there's not a lot of problems where you have to show work on a computer, and so now we are transitioning back to paper, and so this is going to be how you write it on your paper, especially whenever you ask for help, because if you aren't following a system for showing your work, I cannot help you on these problems. But the 3x's cancel, 17 comes down, 5x minus 3x is 2x, and then plus 9, and notice we are right back where we were in our last lessons. So 2x plus 9, the first thing you want to do is move this 9 by subtracting 9 from both sides. 17 minus 9 is 8. Next thing you want to do is get rid of the 2x. We used to write the division symbol, but really the way you do it on paper is by putting over 2 over 2. That's kind of like divided by 2. If you want to use the division sign, that is fine. If you want to do this like you did on the computer, that's fine. Just make sure you do one of those two. But again, show your steps so that I can see what you're doing if you're asking for assistance. That's the key thing though. But that's it. Move the smaller variable and everything gets really easy. 10x plus 21 equals 2x minus 3. Again, number and variable, equal sign. Take the smaller one, move it by using its opposite. 10x minus 2x is 8x. Copy everything else. Plus 21 comes down, that goes away. Be careful to recognize that that is a negative 3, not just a 3. Next thing we would do again, if that's the x, is move the addition subtraction number. So subtract 21 from both sides. And then get rid of the 8 by dividing by 8. And that is it. So again, the only thing today's information really adds is that there's variables on both sides. This is a synthesis of today and 2.3, which had the distributive property. So again, right now it's not even simplified. So the first thing I want to do before I do anything at all is make sure it's simplified. So I would get 7x minus 35, because that would be 7 times x, 7 times 5, equals 6x plus 30, because of 6 times x, 6 times 5. And now notice it looks just like the problems that we have added in today. So once I've simplified it, now I go ahead and do my job. I move the smaller x over to the other side. I get 1x, which is just x because I don't put a 1 on it. That goes away, equals 30. I then move the 35 by adding it, getting x equals 65. Doesn't matter how ugly the question is. This is where I was telling you that you had a home base. and that all it was going to happen was that you were going to be taken further away from base and you would just work your way back to base. All you're going to do here, I'm sorry I had this picture up here where I showed base and all these things that were just taking you further away. But all you're going to do here, again, follow your rule. Just simplify first. We can't do anything until it's simplified. 4a, this negative distributes to those, so it'll be minus 2a and minus 12. Still not simplified because I have like terms, so 2a minus 12 equals 2a minus 12. There is no smaller variable, and so the issue with that is that we now must move either one of them. But the thing is, when I subtract 2a, the a's go away on both sides, bringing down negative 12 and negative 12. Now you will rarely see this happen, but I chose this for a reason. Whenever this happens and you get a true statement, because negative 12, I can't spell all the time, negative 12 is equal to negative 12, then you would put infinite solutions, which means that it will always be true. If, for example, though we did this and this was 2a minus 11 equals 2a plus 5, and you subtracted your 2a and subtracted your 2a and got negative 11 equals 5, and that's false, that would be no solution. So anytime all your variables go away, first off check to make sure you did everything right, and I'm pretty sure we did. That would be 2a, that would be 4 minus 2, which is 2, so check to make sure you did everything right, but it's usually a infinite solutions versus a no solution question. Outside of that, I mean, here's the notes here that you want to copy down just to make sure you've got it. Hopefully you copied the examples, because again, the examples don't show up on notes a lot of times. But other than that, here we go. So that's actually all the notes that there are. So answer the last question and good luck.